I can't believe it during our Casanova series, we didn't once mention Giacomo Casanova's incredibly blue eyes. You remember, Zac?
I do remember. They're pretty unforgettable.
Yeah, like if you watch the series, you will notice it. He has these like bright blue eyes. But I think if we did bring it up, I would not have been able to resist making just the most obvious joke. Can you guess what that joke is, Zac?
Yes, I can, Louis.
That's right, Zac. It's Lisan al-Gaib. It's me calling him the Mardib, Lisan al-Gaib, saying he's had loads of spice, just really drilling into that as almost as much as we drilled into the Bene Gesserit thing during Mine Will Mine.
Funnily enough, I did see, because I'm a Letterboxd girly, and limited series are available on Letterboxd, including the 2005 limited series Casanova, and I did log Casanova 2005, not Casanova 2005, the film, which I haven't seen. And one of the top reviews on there was someone saying, somehow David Tennant wearing contacts in Good Omens, where his eyes look like snake eyes, was more convincing than David Tennant with blue eyes in Casanova.
Yeah, that's good. My sister told me to get Letterboxd, and I did like my top 4 movies, and I haven't done anything since. So
to be fair, I think it's one of those things where you got to commit to the bit of making a note every time you watch a film, and I've committed to the bit now for 2 years, so I'm going to carry on.
Yeah,
it's hard to sort of. You got to dive into the deep end of the pool and just make peace with the fact that I did watch films for 20 years and they're not on my letterbox, and I'm not going to go back and change that.
I will stick to my Duolingo streak then.
There you are.
Hello and welcome to Davis on Davis, the show hosted by a French king and a French urban development zone. That's right, I'm Louis, and this is Zac, which is short for Zone d'Aménagement Concerté. Seriously, you go on Google Maps, hover over France, type Zac in, you're going to see a load of areas popping up that look like Nine Elms or spinning fields or that bit just south of Deansgate, or just putting up new buildings. Yeah.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Don't Google Zac France, which is what I just did, because that's a rugby player.
Good stuff.
Who was paralysed after breaking his spine. That's unfortunate.
Not good stuff. Not good stuff. Rescind the good stuff for what? Look up Louis Zammit, though. That's a rugby player.
Louis Zammit is a Welsh. Oh, he's Welsh. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
He's Rhys Zammit.
I was once at a wedding that he was also at. Didn't speak to him or anything, but I was just saw on the big table plan. Oh, there's another Louis. Didn't realise that. Oh, there's a famous rugby player. I was just oh look, another Louis. What are the chances? Quite high. The story of my life.
He used to be a rugby player. He's now an American football player.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Went stateside.
God, is this a thing where everyone that's remotely Welsh is related, Louis?
I think everyone is remotely related, just generally.
What, beyond Wales?
I mean, okay, no. So I know why he was at the wedding. It wasn't because he was related to the groom or anything.
Okay.
It was a bit different, but it was an interesting connection there. But that's getting personal, so let's move on.
Just do it from the way. So I've been watching a lot of Gavin and Stacey, as in I've been watching the entirety of Gavin and Stacey in the last week to prepare for the new Christmas special coming.
Oh, they're doing another one. Nice, very nice.
So I've been thinking a lot about the Welsh people.
Now,
it also was a nice follow-up to watching Mine on Mine. Sorry, you go.
No, go, because I didn't realise.
No, I've got nothing to say. I've got a fantastic segue for this episode that has come to me in the last couple of minutes. But the sort of the thing from which we were going to segue is now quite far behind in the conversation we're having.
Okay, so, well, here's the thing. So I had to come up with something not related to Russell T Davies at all to introduce this episode, which is why I made the joke about French words, because today we're going off script.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're rewriting the story. We're performing literary revisionism. We're not. We're just reviewing something. Do you want to do your segue, Zac?
My segue was about 4 minutes ago, Louis mentioned Dune, and when I saw Dune Part 2 in cinemas earlier this year, I went and bought the original Dune novel, and I recently did that a second time when I went and bought Wicked by Gregory Maguire after I saw Wicked in the cinema. Wicked.
Wow, wicked.com.
Don't go to wicked.com, kids. Don't go to wicked.com. Not that there are any kids listening to this podcast, obviously.
Yeah, no, it is rated E for
explicit.
It's weird because you got the little E for explicit, but also E for everyone in video games. So it's like, which one is it? Come on.
Is that in video? I don't play E-rated video games.
I think in America, here we have Peggy. We'd have Peggy 3.
Peggy 3.
It's like with movies where we do numbers. With video games, we also do numbers. But they're slightly different numbers. They're 3, 7, 12,
18.
17, I think.
Oh,
18, yeah.
I exclusively play Peggy 7s. That's sort of where I'm at.
Your Animal Crossings, yeah.
No, all the Lego games, every Lego game starts with Peggy 7.
Oh, okay. Right. I was like, what's a Peggy 7 that adults play?
Yeah, no, I do play Peggy 18s. What can I say? I'm a bad boy.
Oh, what games do you play?
So I've always been a massive Fallout fan. So I played most of the Fallout franchise. Fallout. I started with New Vegas, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and I've dipped my toe into Fallout 1 and 2, but they're sort of isometric role-playing games. They're a little bit harder for someone with the attention span of someone living in 2024 to play. So I mainly sort of watch YouTube. I'm into like watching people talk and discuss about those games because they're really cool from a lore perspective. And then that took me into Skyrim. And more recently, I've been getting into, in this year's winter Steam sale, I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey because it was $3.99 and that game was like 50 quid when it came out. And you just get to explore and play a really cool story in ancient Greece. And as someone who has a classics degree, that's pretty much like my fantasy. To sit at home in the comfort of 21st century living, but see what ancient Greece was like with my own eyes, it's pretty damn cool. So there we go. And then now that's sort of opening my eye to Assassin's Creed is not what I thought it was as someone who's never played an Assassin's Creed game before. Because why is it a science fiction genre where people are going into machines that are allowing them to travel in time and live the experience of their ancestors? That's weird.
That is the synopsis of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I thought it was just assassins and their creed.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, you could just have, it's a game set in ancient times, and then the franchise is games throughout history. But instead, they're like, no, there needs to be a reason we're going back in time.
Which I respect, but I've been like now doing some research into the different games and realizing that maybe they haven't actually got quite a tighter grip on that narrative as it might appear.
Nice.
Sorry, we're really not talking about one thing today, are we?
No, because the other segue thing I was going to do was to say that, really this podcast is just an excuse to chat with Zac about stuff we both like.
Well, what can I say?
And so recently I watched the movie Wicked, and I'm not big into musicals, but I'm also not like a hater. Like, I think that's dumb. Like, I think they're fine if they're done well, and there are a lot of very good ones. There are a lot of very good ones out there, and I definitely would rank this one as one of the good ones. But what I did really like, what I do really like in general, is media about the rise of fascism, the failure of liberalism, things of that nature, and this movie delivered.
It really did. I suppose I'm not quite the flip end of Louis. I'm not the exact opposite to Louis with musicals. I love musicals, but I'm not an absolute musical nerd. I've actually only seen a couple of musicals in person. I've only ever seen quite a limited number. I mean, I went to see Hairspray, the Hairspray UK tour a couple of months ago, and I've seen like The Lion King. I've mainly consumed musicals through soundtracks and movie musicals, which, as I'm sure people have become aware, can be very hit or miss. But I went into Wicked quite excited. I read a lot of the reviews and saw how polarizing the reviews were, and that I always think is exciting. The worst thing a film, and particularly an adaptation, can do is get middling reviews, because then you're just going to be bored. I'd rather something be, in an ideal world, I'd want something to be fantastic, 5 stars, blow my socks off, change my life, or be so awful I'm going to go in and really enjoy like throwing tomatoes at the screen and then getting kicked out by the few staff members who are paid minimum wage and are now having to clean up the tomatoes that I've wasted and then people are having a go at me for wasting food in a cost of living crisis.
Yeah, I saw a middling movie recently. It was quite interesting because it was like Boiling Point if the characters spoke more and said less. So maybe I should get Letterboxd because that's a pretty witty thing to say.
That's good. You do numbers on Letterboxd with that.
I really liked sort of the way that because Glinda is sort of very much kind of embodying this idea that she's from like kind of a rich family and she sort of wants to be kind of liked by everyone, and that means sort of kind of saying things that will make her popular and that will make her look very virtuous, but not actually being willing to do anything difficult in order to stand up for what's right.
Yeah.
So like, it's always great to look at sort of people kind of less advantaged than you and show how sorry you are for them and, put a coin in the collection pot and all that. But when you actually get to the point that you know why the system is set up as it is, if you're offered a job, you got to take the job because it's a good job and not...
Yeah, I completely agree. John M. Chu, who directed the film, said something fascinating in an interview about how Wicked Part 1 is a movie about choices, and then Wicked Part 2, which is now subtitled For Good, is all about the consequences of choices. And obviously that's following the act structure of the stage musical. And I think it's such a fantastic piece of characterization. I walked away from this film, what has been mulling over in my brain, apart from the soundtrack constantly playing on repeat, is how well characterized Elphaba and Glinda are in terms of what they value and how that informs the choices that they make, and how for Glinda she values, like you say, popularity. That's why she sings a song called Popular, and how her version of success is being liked by people. And Elphaba does not hold those same values. It's she doesn't care, because the way she's grown up, she doesn't care what other people think about her. She just has this very sort of strong belief in right versus wrong. And the reason Defying Gravity is such a magnificent piece of not just music but storytelling, that goes beyond how well you can analyze Stephen Schwartz's chord progressions, which I'm told by people who know more about music than I do is just phenomenal. Is that story that the song goes on, they start being pissed off with each other, and then Elphaba throughout the song knows that there's no going back, she can't go back to be with the wizard. And there's that moment where Glinda's like, I could come with you, and she decides not to. And the first time you look at that, you kind of think, oh, well, there's no redeeming Glinda. Glinda's a bitch. Why did she not support her friend? And then you realise the entire film, the entire story thus far, so in character for Glinda to just not be able to make the decision to do something that's going to make people dislike her. And as much as she wants to support her friend, it just fundamentally violates her belief system, and it would be completely out of character for her to do so.
Yeah.
And it's in character for Elphaba to sort of not hate her for that. And I think that right there, that's how you write characters, people. That's how you write characters.
Yeah. I think, because even when she does nice things, so when she starts being nice to Elphaba, it's sort of under this kind of condition that, she's going to teach her to be popular so that she's basically becomes a commander under her army. And so, it's not super altruistic. Obviously, she's doing it because Elphaba got her into the magic program, but she's not gonna sacrifice anything to become friends with Elphaba. She's going to make sure it doesn't, impact her sort of social bottom line.
But you do get that moment, which I think is a beautiful moment at the Ozdust Ballroom, where Glinda almost takes the plunge when she dances with Elphaba and potentially is about to commit social suicide, because she has this first realization, oh, maybe I'm not actually as kind as I think I am. And someone has actually done something kind for me in response to me doing some very selfish things. And she has this first realization. Now, obviously, the reason she's able to sort of do that silly dance and potentially make people giggle at her is very, very different to becoming one of two victims of a nationwide propaganda campaign and becoming an arch villain to the state. They're sort of two very different extremes, and she's able to do the first one. She's able to give up a little bit of her pride, but can't make that massive leap at the end. And
well, I think if dancing well for it, if it goes well, then she can be like, you know, hey, you'll need to be nice. But if it goes wrongly, if it goes bad, she can just say, well, you know, I was just trying to be nice. And so you can kind of spin it either way, kind of like the Schrodinger joke, which is where you say something offensive, and then if people like it, then you mean it. If people don't like it, then it was just a joke. You know, it's that kind of that sort of always being able to toe that line.
Yeah, some fantastic characterization that is just really tying into the sort of the political themes, which I really didn't think would be in the. I mean, be in the show. I had never seen Wicked on stage before. I spent a lot of time in London when I was sort of like 9 or 10, and that was really that was 5 years after the musical was first written, and it was really starting to be popular, and it was all over the sort of tube posters. And I knew it was a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, because I was a pretty, on it 10-year-old. And I had no idea what the story would be. And now to realize, oh my God, the story was about twisting The Wizard of Oz on its head and making the wizard a bad guy and having all this subplot with all sort of this discrimination towards animals. I was just like, there's no way. It kind of blew my mind that the film went there. I do think particularly the focus of Wicked Part 1 as a film does sort of push the politics to the background quite a bit and just makes it an accessory to the characters. It focuses far more on these two characters and their bond, which I think rightly so. And I only expect that the expansion in Wicked for Good will be expanding the consequences of these people living in this political system, and hopefully we'll see more of that explored, because the second act of Wicked is significantly shorter than the first act, and I reckon the Wicked for Good will probably be the same length as Wicked Part 1, I estimate.
Yeah.
So I reckon they've put a lot more, because that apparently is one of the things that they decided when they were going to make this show into 2 films, was expanding the film. And I've got a question for you, Louis.
Yeah.
What did you feel about the film's pacing? Did you feel, because it's a long film for actually such a short
It's a
act.
long film, but by the end I didn't feel like, by the time we got to Defying Gravity, I was like, oh, okay, cool, we're at the end, but I didn't feel as long as I thought it might. Yeah, I think they managed with that, yeah.
I think given the context of movie musical adaptations, they've actually done something insane in there's no fluff that they've added.
Yeah.
And they've not missed anything out.
Yeah.
They've just managed to have interesting additions, which is kind of...
Because I heard that people always complain about when a certain song gets cut out for time. And this time, no songs were left out. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I imagine sort of a stage must be like such a different environment that you can kind of do the songs and have the stuff move between the songs and have it run quick enough. But it would feel disorienting in a movie form. And so this way... we're able to get the songs, but
it's kind of easy. You make a really good point. When I saw Hairspray a couple of months ago, the thing I did make note of was how fast paced. It's just everything's moving at breakneck pace. Even the jokes are just sort of, the actors are just trying to race through the script, which is kind of is a crazy, insane feeling when it's been a while since you've seen a musical on stage.
Yeah, I want to quickly rewind to the ballroom scene. The Ozdust? Yeah. What did you say it was?
The Ozdust ballroom.
Yeah.
If only because dust is what we come to.
Right. Yes.
That's a lyric from Dancing Through Life.
Very nice. Yes. And so in the lead up to the dance, in that scene, basically, there was this constant kind of line that came coming back, which was basically like, we deserve each other, you deserve each other. And the sinister side of that, and I know this is probably like very basic dramatic irony, and I'm going like, wow, this is so clear, but just the fact that sort of when Glinda gets Bok to Anna Rose, that's her name, right?
Nessa Rose.
Nessa Rose, that's it. Not the best name. She asks him to ask her out because that would make me so happy if you could sort of give the girl in the chair this constant sort of motif of basically of Glinda pitying people who do not ask for it. And so then when they're in the ballroom, or as I like to call it, the club, because it's started out to be like a club, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a club.
And also ever since Adam Driver in Megalopolis, I can't say that word normally now. Just
in the club.
In the club. So in the club, they're dancing and they're saying, "Oh, we deserve each other." And of course, she's oblivious to the very sinister reason and the very sort of unkind, let's say, just to really point a finger at Glinda, very unkind reason this is all happening. But also, Glinda deserves Fiyero, but of course, he doesn't feel the same way about her. And the idea that, like, because you're not actually a good person, maybe you do deserve this sort of thing that's gonna, not gonna end well. It's gonna blow up in your face at some point. Because I think a big part of this movie is cliquiness, just all of that and that kind of that very sort of fake emotional labor. Maybe people do deserve these sort of fake unhappy situations because they haven't put anything real into to get anywhere else. Yeah.
I believe, from what I understand, that will be explored. The consequences of that are all explored in the second half.
That's good. Yeah, another point. So Elphaba. So you were saying that Glinda is sort of tries to like come off really kind, and then she starts wondering, "Why am I as kind as I make myself out to be?" Elphaba kind of, when she starts off, she's immediately very defensive.
Yep.
So she's immediately got her guard up. She immediately assumes that people are judging her. A lot of the time they are. That's for society, but she still makes that assumption when a character isn't. Like with Fiyero. But like as the story goes on, we get to see more of her kind of her vulnerability and the fact that she does want to fit in somewhere, and she does want some kind of sort of circle and a network, and that's why she does the thing for Glinda to get her on a magic program. And so she wants to, sort of not just fight sort of larger injustices, but also on a more personal level, foster these sort of friendships and connections. And that just reminded me of me, because basically, so in primary school, I was bullied and it sucked, and I had no control of my emotions. And then when I started year 7, I was like completely fresh start, completely new school. All of that stuff. Guard up 24/7, 364, right? Let it down on Christmas. Let it down on my birthday. But like the fact that it took a long time for me to reach an actual synthesis where I could not be pushed over without being sort of completely shut away and kept to myself. That took a long time, and seeing Elphaba need to figure that out, I really felt that.
Wow. I've got nothing that I can really say in response to that, Louis.
Cool.
Other than it's really nice to see people holding space with what's happening in this film, and I didn't know that was happening. That's what I really wanted.
Holding space. I don't know if I know what that means actually.
You don't? Have you? Am I making are you the only person who doesn't know what I'm referring to?
No.
Have you seen that interview? You've not seen that interview.
Was that the one with the Ariana and?
I'm in Queer Media, yeah.
Yeah. I saw memes of it.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
I think you should go. I think you should go away and watch, because no one knows what holding space means. That's the joke.
Right.
And I think we don't actually know what holding space really means. Holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. Okay.
One thing I was going to say is that basically sort of there were a lot of memes about how ridiculous the marketing campaign was.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem to cross my radar. Like I heard one podcast about Wicked and the Rise of Fascism and was like, okay, maybe I should see this film. I heard you saying it was good. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to see this film.
Okay, see it.
And like I knew it was big, but like Do you know how many big movies I don't see? Like, that's always happening. There's always like a big movie and I'm always not seeing it. So I just thought it was I thought it was like normal style, you know what I mean? But I did see this one because I had good stuff.
Hence why, this is why you don't have a Letterboxd account, because then people will be able to see you haven't been watching the big films.
Yeah.
That's what I'm scared about. I have people that I know, and I also have a couple of people I don't know. I also have a friend of the podcast, Joe Brennan. Well, actually, I follow him. He doesn't follow me back on that. And I think
he followed you back on Twitter.
Yes, yeah, back when I had Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's scary when I sort of watch films that are classics and I watch them for the first time and I'm like, people can see that I have never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off before the 24th of November of this year.
I feel like 80s teen movies like Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, maybe they're fine, but I don't feel like anyone needs to see those. You can if you want to, but that doesn't feel like essential viewing to me.
Really? Because Ferris Bueller does sound like essential viewing to me.
Okay.
I don't know, part in my head was like, this is essential viewing. I had sort of a period of days where I watched what I considered to be essential viewing, which was American Psycho, The Devil Wears Prada, The Dark Knight, Clueless, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Whiplash.
Okay, yeah.
And then Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock.
I'm gonna not say which of those I think are essential viewing, but I would say some of those are essential viewing. I'm not gonna completely reject the idea of essential viewing. I think that's a bit boring. Like, sure, you don't actually have to do anything ever, but come on.
No, it's true.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, I'm sure it's a good movie.
What, Ferris Bueller? You talking about Ferris Bueller?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. What is a movie from the 80s I like? I mean, I'm going to level with you. Like, I think for me, it's like Midnight Cowboy and then the 90s onwards for me. I don't know why. I don't go too old. I don't know why.
To be fair, I'm trying to diversify my Letterboxd portfolio with more. I have a distinct lack of 20th century cinema. I watch more 21st century cinema, which I feel terrible about because I watch an 80s film and just go, there's a lot of craft at work here.
Yeah.
This is the wanky part of the conversation where we've stopped talking about Wicked.
Yeah. Well, to bring us back into Wicked, I want to ask you, Zach, what do you think of Jeff Goldblum?
What do I think of Jeff Goldblum? Obviously, Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum, and that perhaps is his biggest downfall. That I have this big theory about acting and who's a good actor and who's a bad actor. And for me, the best actors are actors who bring diversity and variety to performance. People who walk onto a stage, onto a set, onto a screen, and give us a character. They perform as the character. They give us something new. My really odd example is I think Matt Lucas is actually a really good actor because when you watch Little Britain, every character he plays does not feel like Matt Lucas. It feels like the character he plays.
Yeah.
And most people wouldn't consider Matt Lucas to be, one of the best actors in the world. I'm not saying he is.
No, yeah, I agree with you. It's just a shame about the characters.
Of course. Absolutely. Not aged well. And then you get Jeff Goldblum, who is always just called Jeff Goldblum. And very much the Wizard of Oz in this film is Jeff Goldblum. And I think it suffers a similar problem that Dune Part 2 does, in that the great emperor of the known universe is just Christopher Walken. And the great Wizard of Oz is just Jeff Goldblum, which kind of, you don't see the wizard, you just see Goldblum. Whereas with Glinda, Ariana Grande, everyone knows who Ariana Grande is.
No, literally.
I forgot she was Ariana Grande.
No, same. Like when it started in the bubble, I was like, "Ooh, there's Ariana Grande. Very nice. It's Cat from Sam and Cat."
Exactly.
Love to see. But then, like, I did forget enough time into the movie. I completely forgot that, and I was not seeing Ariana Grande. I was seeing Glinda. She was very good. She was very, very good.
So yeah, that
very much felt into. Yeah.
So that's sort of my thought, and it kind of leans into. I didn't walk away thinking he was miscast.
Yeah.
I did walk away thinking there was one piece of miscasting though.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Say that in a sec, because I just want to quickly yes and you. So
okay.
Honestly, I can't disagree with what you're saying about Jeff Goldblum, but I will say that if Jeff Goldblum has to be Jeff Goldblum, I think he works very well as a villain. I think between this and Chaos, the Netflix show, which got cancelled, shaking my fist, he's really good. He's really good as the villain who is so powerful that he's not like super interested in villain stuff. It's just he just has all the power. He cares about the power. He cares about maintaining the power. Sometimes he cracks, sometimes he doesn't crack. But almost the fact that this is like he's so powerful that it's okay, but it feels like this isn't someone acting in a movie. This is someone from the real world implanted into the movie, which, hey, considering how he got to the Land of Oz, let's pretend that's because he's secretly a good actor or whatever. No, I think he's a good actor, but I understand what you mean about like sort of not being able to melt into the role. But I didn't mind because I do think it worked here, even if I can't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I will push back on the Christopher Walken slander.
It's funny, when I saw Dune Part 2 twice in the cinema, the second time was with my boyfriend, and he just couldn't get over the fact that Christopher Walken was the Emperor. He thought that was the most ridiculous piece of casting he'd seen of the year so far.
Yeah, because is he very big into Fatboy Slim? He was like, that's too funny, you know.
It's just weird because Christopher Walken he's got that distinctive voice, and when you watch the first Dune, the fact that you don't see the Emperor has this sort of power that I think Star Wars' Emperor had in The Empire Strikes Back, when he's only really revealed towards the end, and it's this ominous thing that you can't see that has a power over the known universe. It's very powerful. Not showing things, very powerful. And then the fact that it's just Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
But there you are. Can I speak my slander now?
Okay.
And I just want this Academy Award winning actor to know that I don't hate them. But I struggled with Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible, I will say. And apparently I watched some interviews with Stephen Schwartz talking about recording Michelle Yeoh's singing, and Michelle Yeoh being like, I can't sing. And I was just a little bit like, if Michelle Yeoh admitted that she can't sing, why did you cast her in a musical? Because she only sings for 6 lines in the beginning of The Wizard and I.
Yeah.
But I really, really like those 6 lines. They're actually my favourite 6 lines in the musical. One of my favourite collections of lines. And I was just a bit like, an odd choice of casting, because on the green carpet for the premiere, I can't remember her name, but one of the Broadway Madame Morribles was on the green carpet next to Michelle Yeoh and was being interviewed, and just off the cuff started singing those lines. And she just doing an off the cuff performance on the green carpet in a random junket interview was more powerful for me than Michelle Yeoh in this incredible film. So that kind of was a bit sucky for me. And I feel bad saying it, because I think Michelle Yeoh in the right role, I mean, like in Everything Everywhere All at Once, pretty fucking great. And that's why she won an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
And also celebrating her whole actually very long history
certainly.
in cinema. But I didn't quite buy her as Madame Morrible. She does have a good sort of, I suppose, a good level of being sinister. But I think, Michelle Yeoh can be off-putting, but I think perhaps Madame Morrible shouldn't be off-putting from the get-go. I think it should be more of a twist, like it is we all know the wizard's not what he says he is. But I would have liked it if Madame Morrible was maybe a bit more generous at the beginning. But then again, that's not how it is in the novel. Because I should say I've read half the novel. I don't know if I've said that on the air yet. And Madame Morrible is a lot more antagonistic, specifically with Glinda in the novel. Because I will say the novel, I saw someone on a different podcast describe Stephen Schwartz's adaptation of Wicked to be basically someone explained the novel to him when they were drunk, and then he went away and wrote the musical. It very much, there is no scene by scene comparison. It's very much just the concept and the characters are borrowed and everything else is completely new. And actually, really interesting, Shiz University in the novel is modelled on Oxford and Cambridge, I suppose, in that it's a collegiate university with women's colleges and men's colleges, and Madame Morrible is the head of the women's college, as opposed to the dean of the faculty of sorcery at Shiz. So in the film, it very much feels like a fantasy American college where people are sharing dorms, as opposed to this sort of early 20th century Oxbridge vibe.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. Yeah, I only really I haven't really seen much of Michelle Yeoh's work outside of Everything Everywhere All at Once. So yeah, I think because she wasn't in it loads, I didn't really. She
has a bigger role in the second half, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think the reason she was cast is so John M. Chu, who directed the film, I think his 4th film, which was his big first success, was Crazy Rich Asians, in which Michelle Yeoh plays the main character's mother and is sort of the main antagonist to sort of
the guy's mother.
That's what I mean.
She plays the crazy rich matriarch.
Yes, exactly. And so she's sort of the barrier, which she does that so well. And obviously she's got a good relationship with John M. Chu after that. And I feel probably that's why he wanted to cast her. And I'm just not sure about it. I'm not entirely sold. Maybe the second half will change my mind.
Remains to be seen.
It does.
I think one final point I have before we end here. The disability representation. After watching the movie, I went on a little deep dive about this topic. And basically, they made changes from the stage musical to the film, which I think, from what I've heard, were some good calls. So in the stage musical, Nessa Rose, her thing is sort of wanting to walk, wanting to be cured, yada yada. And, you know, I'm sure there are a significant number of wheelchair users who will feel that way, and that's completely valid. But having that, you know, happen throughout the musical, and then I won't spoil anything else, but having that sort of run through isn't a very positive message and isn't going to make people feel great about themselves. But in the movie, Nessa Rose's thing is that she just wants independence, sort of regardless of whether she needs to use a wheelchair. It's she just wants the independence that, you know, her father is not letting her have, and her father is making Elphaba sort of stay near her to, you know, keep that from her even when she's away at university. And having that as her desire, and we'll see how it develops in part 2, but having that as her desire, I don't have any kind of physical disability, but from what I've heard, that was a good call. Just generally, I did think that sort of something I can speak more on that I've mentioned here, is that sort of Glinda's tendency to pity anyone that she sees as below her, because, you know, it's nicer than being more harshly discriminatory, more antagonistically discriminatory. To pity is nicer, it's kinder, it's the good option in a very shit dichotomy. And being called out for that, because she does it to Elphaba as well, with about degreenifying and being like, ooh, I'm interested in medical magic to maybe cure you, and it's like, I did not ask for a cure. You do not have the ability to cure, so you're offering something you can't do to someone who didn't ask for it. And just immediately sort of saying, like, this attitude is going to be kind of lampshaded. I thought that was good. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really thought, I was glad that we managed to bring that up, because I think I really have enjoyed learning about the thought process behind the adaptation of Nessa Rose's character, and particularly the fact that the actress that plays Nessa Rose, whose name is Marisa Bode, is the first time the character has been played by a wheelchair user, and certainly a non-ambulatory wheelchair user. I believe all the Broadway actors who portrayed her have not been wheelchair users.
Yeah, actually, from what I've gathered, there hasn't even been any ambulatory wheelchair users playing her, supposedly because it's too intense, and they need to be on their feet when the play requires it, not just when they're able to, and all that, you know.
Yeah,
that kind of really shitty rhetoric.
So it's really nice to sort of hear them talking about giving that opportunity to Bode. And I really like you've mentioned, the Nessa Rose's character, and I like the fact that everyone, obviously this is to say I like this is odd, but everyone keeps calling her tragically beautiful, which obviously is really hyperbolic language, but that's the way that we in real life that we talk about people with physical disabilities.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a podcaster I listen to who has cystic fibrosis and has talked about how, as a child, being sort of heavily involved in like his kind of evangelical church, they would always do that kind of tragically beautiful thing.
Yeah.
For like, look how brave this kid is, look how inspiring it is. And it's like, he just has cystic fibrosis. He's just trying to get on with stuff. It's so it removes someone of their autonomy. It removes someone of their agency. To sort of it's you becoming a tool for other people to feel good about themselves because they have the time of day for this person who might need a bit more time. It's like, no, you are patting yourself on the back for doing the bare minimum.
Yeah. No, so I thought that was really, again, I'm not the right person to talk about if people were happy with that representation, but I found that really interesting to watch.
Great. Well, that brings us to the end of our bonus episode on Wicked.com. I need to stop that from becoming like a thing I always say whenever I need to. I just, for some reason, that like really tickled my funny bone. I don't know why, but like,
so that is the one that is, you are aware of that. We were not aware of Holding Space, but you are aware of the Wicked.com.
Well, exactly, because you see. Everything has a website, everything has a URL, everything. Whenever something corporate kind of a crack opens, it's always like, oh, that's interesting because corporate products are supposed to have a sort of completely clear facade that's perfect. And when a leak springs and they have to plug the leak quickly because, oh no, people are going to go on this website now. It's just the mental image of that. Yeah, I liked it, yeah.
Nice.
Well, join us next week for the second end of year bonus, which will bring the Russell T Davies 1999 to 2005 pre-Who era to a close. We're very excited. This is really getting into the weeds of like the sort of the niche media that we cover in this podcast, so join us for that. But until then, you can follow us on Instagram at DavisOnDavis. You can follow us on BlueSky at ondavis.bsky.social. The dot social thing is let's see how long that lasts. And Zach, do you have anything to plug?
If you can find me on Letterboxd, feel free to follow me.
Good stuff.
But you'll have to search. You'll have to look and find. Maybe by noting the films that I've watched and seeing if you can find my review. I'll leave people a puzzle to do that, given that we've talked so much about it.
Very nice.
I'll be wicked. That's me being wicked. Ha 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 ha
ha. Right. See you next week.
See you soon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.